Without this artist, an entire genre of music may have never been created. He blended hip hop, soul, jazz, and gospel music together to create what is considered one of the greatest albums of all time. And then he disappeared. D'Angelo was the son of this fire and brimstone Pentecostal preacher in Virginia who started playing piano by the age of 3. He signed his first recording contract by the age of 20 and had released this masterpiece of an album called Voodoo by the time he was 27. He won a bunch of Grammy Awards for the album. He sold millions of copies, went on almost a sold-out world tour, and it was just already being considered this groundbreaking, amazing album by artists, critics, and a lot of people at the time. To record the album, he worked with this star-studded group of musicians that included Questlove from The Roots, the legendary hip-hop producer Jay Dilla, bassist Pino Palladino, who's played with John Mayer, Erykah Badu. According to Questlove, the songs are blatantly disrespectful to the rules of rhythm and melody structure. Some of the songs on the album that kind of illustrate this beautiful disrespect that Questlove is talking about are Playa Playa and Chicken Grease. Everything is offbeat. There's no real rules of songwriting being followed. And D'Angelo's vocals are super heavily layered, which it can make it hard to even follow the melodies that he's singing. But it's the combination of these jazz chords, these hip-hop beats, and these kind of soul hooks and melodies that combine and crystallize to just kind of intoxicate you while you listen. The music kind of takes you to another place. Like a similar feeling that I get is when I listen to like Bill Evans' Trio, and I'm just sort of like transported to another dimension through Bill Evans' piano playing. With D'Angelo's production and vocal and melodies, I get a similar sense of this kind of transcendent feeling where it just sort of transports you to like another place. When the music video for the song Untitled, How Does It Feel, on the album came out, it kind of cemented his image as this like sex symbol and sort of like shot him into this pop stardom place as well. But the video is like him with his shirt off. It's very close up and it's just sort of like following him up and down. And he's basically naked. And then during the world tour for this album, he started to get, in his own words, frightened by this sort of image, by the power of the stage and the spotlight. He says in the 2019 documentary Devil's Pie, which is really good, and you should watch it if you're interested, that happened to me on Voodoo. It felt like a whisper. Like, look at that power you possess. If Yahweh grants you that gift and you're not being responsible about it, it can be very scary. So then after the tour, he just totally removes himself. He moves back to Virginia, stops making music, stops touring, and just like totally recedes from the spotlight and is basically not heard from for nearly 15 years. He wouldn't release another album until 2014, which was this critically acclaimed third album called Black Messiah. His tour manager, who was on that Voodoo World Tour and also worked with James Brown and Prince, which just kind of speaks to the magnitude of who D'Angelo was, said that he wrestled with the idea of a career in secular music that could be quite sexual in nature versus devoting his musical talents to the church. So this tension seemed to haunt D'Angelo throughout his career. And so the sense I get is that he wrestled with this image of being a sex symbol and a pop star with his devotion to God and his upbringing. And it seems like he couldn't ever find that balance. And then he passed away last week, having only released 3 studio albums, which are all regarded as these phenomenal, basically perfect. Like Rick Rubin, I think, has said that Voodoo is like the perfect album and that it's like the one album that he wished he would have worked on. So yeah, if you haven't listened to D'Angelo, I would recommend starting with Voodoo, just from the top, and then Brown Sugar is really good, Black Messiah is really good, R.I.P. D'Angelo. The next album I was listening to last week is this new album by Laney, who is this band I discovered in the cafeteria at Berklee College of Music. Their song 13 was playing and I just became an instant fan. It's kind of this alternative pop music with heavily layered synths and effects, and it's always very sonically pleasing to me, anything that they release. And this new album does not disappoint. It sounds phenomenal. The vocals are amazing. The mix is amazing. The drums are incredible. And the themes that they usually talk about are like love and heartbreak. Like the 2018 album Malibu Nights was basically Paul Klein talking about how Dua Lipa broke up with him, and he was obviously very upset about that, which is understandable. But in interviews for this new album, I thought it was interesting because Paul Klein is talking about how a lot of this album is kind of encouraging men to sort of like feel their emotions more deeply. Like he says in this interview, encouraging them to be more aware and in touch with their emotions and their feelings. And then he's holding this lamb on the cover of the album, and he says in the interviews that he's like basically representing the softness with the lamb, and then his hands are bloody, so it's like the difficulty and like the struggles it takes to sort of not become hard and numb to the world and to your emotions and who you are. So I think it's a great message, and I really like their music. Production wise and then thematically, it's cool to see dudes just sort of leaning into who they are and touching on topics that aren't necessarily being shoved into the spotlight. And the new album's really good. I really like Stuck. I like Good Parts, Last Forever. Great album. I also listened to Charlie Puth's new song Changes this past week. When I was at Berkeley, I had a professor who also taught Charlie Puth, and he basically told me he was the best producer I'd ever seen. So naturally he's world famous now. His stuff is usually super down the line pop music, but this new song actually caught me off guard because it's similar to this song he released in 2019 called Mother, which is this kind of like Michael Jackson inspired bass line led song. It's very interesting. This new song is like, it's still pop, but it's like kind of gives me an 80s vibe. The beginning of it sounds like it could be the theme song to a sitcom, and then it goes into this Phil Collins-esque chorus that's really cool. And I really like the art direction and the music video. The music video reminds me of the Home Improvement intro, which is like the best 90s sitcom of all time. So yeah, it's cool. It seems like he's leaning more into his own style and interests, which I think is great. And then the last thing I listened to this past week were these AI covers of popular songs. You could ask questions like, will artificial intelligence replace everyone's job, be used against us in a civilization-ending war, or reach superintelligence and decide humans are necessary? I don't know, but I do know that the AI covers of popular songs on YouTube have been getting really, really good. The best channel I've found so far is this channel called Almost Real. They're basically just generating 60s Motown soul covers of popular songs. It's kind of obvious that the vocals are AI generated if you listen super closely, but if you were hearing it in public or just on the radio or something, there's no way you would be able to tell a difference. Some of the ones I was listening to last week are the cover of 50 Cent's Mini Men, Frank Ocean's White Ferrari, Kanye West's Heartless. All really good, all worth listening to. I'm not saying it's great for the music industry, but as Brad Pitt says in Moneyball, adapt or die. So that's what I was listening to this week. Hope you like this video. I'll be back next week with more songs, and I hope you listen to great music this week.